question I wrote down was, is it possible to pass a bill that this governor will pass, will sign, will not veto? And based on what you just said, it's clear that it isn't, as far as, unless it's veto-proof. Because I don't picture the governor changing his mind about move along. I think you may be right about that. So is there a bill that you can put out there that is veto-proof? In other words, it can override?
Let me ask Dave my question.
Sure. It's a great question. And it's funny how situations can change people's view. When the story first broke about what this organization had done, Governor Lynch attacked these people as out-of-state people who were bad people. And then, you know, the funny thing was that after the stories were written and the public started to have a real concern about our election laws, the governor then said, well, you know, I'm open to a bipartisan photo ID bill. So, you know, on the one hand, he attacks the people who expose the problem. But then on the other hand, he says, well, you know, maybe I'll want to get involved now. You know, Representative Bates, I'm sure knows this well. You know, this legislature, in supporting the photo ID bill, was called racist. We were called individuals who wanted to suppress voters. And meanwhile, our motivation, our single motivation from day one, was ensuring integrity in our election system. This state is special. This is the home of the first in the nation primary. We have to have an election system that is ethical, bar none. And you know, I'm very concerned by the effort of some people to attack the messenger in this situation, to go out and attack the people who expose this problem. And as I said, you understand why. Because there are a lot of people after this incident with egg on their face. Governor Lynch being first among them, who for years said no voter fraud in New Hampshire. There's no voter fraud here. Well, you know what? He had to eat those words, didn't he? And now that we've had what we have said for years proven, now all of a sudden we're going to attack the messenger. So I'm very concerned about that. But you know, whatever his motivations are, I welcome Governor Lynch to come over to our side of thinking on this issue, and we're happy to work with him as long as it's a piece of legislation that actually addresses the problem. We need a photo identification in our society to do most anything. Why should we not have to show photo identification to engage in one of the bedrocks of our democracy? Right?
You know, I get really concerned in the way this came up, this voter issue came up, because it challenges our first in the nation primary status, because each cycle, you folks have probably noticed this, each cycle a Michigan or a Nevada or a Florida or somebody like that, a state like that will surface and say, why New Hampshire? Why should New Hampshire have a first in the nation primary? And they'll try to move ahead of New Hampshire if you have it. You know, this last cycle, I was able to get together with the Speaker of the House in Iowa and the Speaker of the House in South Carolina. We came up with a strong statement that was picked up nationally, and I think helped preserve New Hampshire's first in the nation primary status, saying we want and we joined together in seeking to have this current schedule maintained. Next 4 years from now, is the Speaker of the House in New Hampshire, if we don't solve this problem, going to be able to go to the Speaker in South Carolina and the Speaker in Iowa and say, join with me in supporting New Hampshire's first in the nation primary status? Not unless we solve this. I don't think that we're going to be able to do it. And folks, to me, it's very, very important. We had Republican town committee meetings here in which we had presidential candidates come to New Orleans to talk to you folks. If we don't have the first in the nation primary, you think we're going to have these presidential candidates coming and listening to us? And it's just not something that satisfies the ego. I mean, I spent a lot of time with Newt Gingrich. He's going around the country now talking about how unique it is the way New Hampshire budgeted this year. That's important to all of us because it brings New Hampshire solutions out to the nation and our achievements out to the nation. So we do have to solve this. We really do.
That's great. We had one question that was on education. Bill, how can we use the private sector to take some of the burden of taxation out of the local communities? Most of our budget here in town is spent on education, the lion's share.
You know, I just spoke before I came here, to the State School Board Association. And I'll give you kind of the same message I gave them, which is, and they didn't like to hear it, which is competition is what we need. We need competition from homeschoolers, which they don't seem to like. We need competition from charter schools, which they say drains funding from them. We need competition from new techniques of how we deliver services. You know, I was just talking with Representative Gary Daniels from Milford here about ways of, even within the public school system, putting in place through technology competitions for the delivery of teaching services. That's the way we're going to do it. You know, we need voucher system, let's face it. We need to give to middle-class families and poor families the same option rich families have, which is to take their child out of the public schools and send them to a better school. So we need all those things. And among my caucus, these are the things we talk about when we talk about education reform, which is how do we instill greater competition. You know, we just passed a bill over the governor's veto, which allows parents to go into school and to tell the school, don't teach my child that objectionable material. We need to make schools, public schools, more responsive to parents, and that's one of the ways that we're doing it. It's amazing. Quite frankly, it amazes me that we'd even have to have a bill like that, that parents couldn't go to a teacher or to a school board or an administrator and say, that's offensive to me and don't expose my child to it. And the school board and the teacher or the principal wouldn't say, oh, absolutely, it's offensive to you, that's your child. Well, apparently we do. That's through measures like that.
You know, in New Hampshire, for far too many years, we have talked about trying to achieve an adequate education for every child. Quite frankly, I find that to be offensive. I don't know how many of you out there want to be adequate at your professions. I don't know how many of you out there want to be adequate citizens, adequate husbands and wives. I don't. I want to achieve excellence in our public education system. And we are going to seek reform. We are going to seek to introduce competition into New Hampshire's education system. But I have to tell you, you have to be ready. You have to be ready for pushback and criticism from those who believe that the only answer is to simply spend more money. I don't accept that premise. I accept the premise that competition brings accountability, it brings responsibility in spending. We're going to be moving forward with a piece of legislation this session that allows businesses to contribute to private scholarship organizations, and they can sponsor children who want to go to a private school. It's private money. It's not vouchers, which are offensive to some. Rather, it's a scholarship. And you know, it's a very, it's an innovative approach. And even before all the details of the program have been released, there's a hue and cry that this is an attempt to dismantle public education, and this is a slap in the face to public education. Let me tell you something. I've been public educated my whole life, with the exception of the year that Franklin Pierce Law School was a private organization. I've gone to private school my whole life. My folks are public school teachers. I believe in competition. I believe in school choice because of the experiences that I had in public education. Public education is great, but it could be better. And I'm also not naive enough to think that it's going to be perfect for every child. If we are really to achieve education excellence for every child, we have to appreciate that not every child learns the same way. And we have to empower parents to be able to make the best choices for their children as students. So look for that, those kinds of reforms this legislative session.
Let me briefly say this educational forum right here that we have a lot of young people that participate, that come in, and they listen to things on a state, national, and local level, and it's a good learning experience for civic participation. So there is a way for the public piece of property to enter into private citizenry and to get things to start to work. You know, there's a type of cooperation that can be achieved. Does anybody have a question from the floor? Go ahead.
Croc TV.